Sponsored by BMO, American Family Insurance, Concordia University of Wisconsin, Loyal Family Renovations, Menards, Network Health, Hello Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, Saturn Lounge.
Unloads, long ball, got it. Rinse and repeat from beyond the arc.
Smart 18, Toyota, and Woodman's. You've been listening to Bucks Basketball on the home of the Bucks, WTMJ.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
More fiber and laxatives, eh?
Who are you?
I'm future you.
Future me?
Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Our doctor figured it out. It's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
The Previent Law Firm has document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems. The firm's office manager, Chris Wilms. Chris, why James?
I like the fact that the company is local.
Locally owned and managed for over 40 years.
I've toured their facility, which is amazing in itself. It's run by some very wonderful, family-oriented people.
James Imaging Systems, AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, digital transformation, all backed by real, old-fashioned local service and expertise from great people.
And I can always get a hold of my representative, who I have on speed dial, or I have a cell phone.
It's pretty much that way with the entire team at James.
Yes, I'm always getting very responsive answers when I call tech support.
James Imaging Systems.
So it's very important that I have a local, responsive company to keep us up and going.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Call 262-781-7700.
Now that the game is done, it's our time to check in.
Trent now stepping back, firing from 3, and he rattles it through. Milwaukee's got it to a 13-point game. Giannis is going to try his hand on a 3, and he says why not.
Bucks Talk starts now.
119-95. This one is now official as the Bucks fail to reach the century mark for the first time this season.
And now, live from Fiserv Forum, here's Justin Garcia.
Well, a tough one tonight as this offense, you heard that clip from Dave, first time this season they failed to score 100 points in a game, 34 points in the first half. Not only the low for the Bucks this season, the low for any team in a half of a game played this season. A very cold shooting night. And, you know, you can overcome offensive deficiencies if your defense is locked in and giving you a chance. And for the first handful of minutes in this game, it was a pretty well-played defensive game by the Bucks. But the wheels would ultimately come off. And you know, look, we've heard Doc Rivers mention this quite a few times. Offense and defense are married together. Your offense is going to fuel your defense and vice versa. And you could see or get the sense at least that when the shots weren't falling, it just kind of started, whether it was frustration, to bleed into the defense for the Bucks. Also doesn't help to go against a player like Luka Doncic, who, again, no one has had an answer for in terms of slowing down, especially the Bucks, though. 3 straight games that Luka has played against the Bucks, he has put up 40 points or more now, joining some very, very exclusive names there. Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady, The only other two players to do that have a 3-game stretch of 40 or more points against the Bucks. 855-616-1620 is the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. You know, last night you won the game. You felt good because it's a cup game. We mentioned on the show, too, you know, if you just zoom in and look at the box score, you may be discouraged that it took overtime to beat a team like the Charlotte Hornets. But we mentioned the Hornets are building something here. I'm not saying the Hornets are a playoff team or an upper echelon team. This isn't the Hornets of old. They gave a strong test to the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight before ultimately losing. I still maintain it was a good win last night, especially when you grind out a clutch game and the way the Bucks played down the stretch. But it feels like every time this team has been put in the spot of the second night of a back-to-back, they have immensely struggled this season. You heard the question posed to Doc Rivers, and I wouldn't say Doc Rivers was dismissive of it, but we didn't really get any insights into whether or not this is something. As the season goes on, if these numbers stay as they are on night 2 of a back-to-back, then it's certainly something to explore more of. But Doc's point being, overtime game last night, a cup game, we went really hard. It was a game that was played at an incredibly high pace as well, and it just took everything out of the Lakers. Out of us. And I think there is a lot of truth to that. I think the one thing that you struggled to come to grips with for this game specifically is this was also night 2 of a back-to-back for the Lakers. They had to get on a plane and fly to Milwaukee. They didn't land in Milwaukee. The Lakers radio team sitting right next to us said, hey, we didn't get to the hotel until 3 in the morning. So a pretty quick turnaround for the Lakers, who were also in a stretch or are in a stretch of 5 games in 7 days. So they're going through an identical schedule that the Bucks are. And it didn't feel like it watching these two teams out there on the floor. So we're going to need to keep an eye on performances in night 2 of a back-to-back for this Bucks team here as the season progresses. It's the big things, though. You know, the same 3 things that we pointed out all season long. In these losses, you can look at really 3 areas for the Bucks, and that is ultimately going to show you why they lost the game. Turnovers and opponents' points scored off of turnovers, offensive rebounds by the opponent, and second chance points scored there, and free throws. And once again tonight, those were big advantages for the opponents. Lakers had a lot of turnovers as well. Both teams turned it over 17 times. The Bucks did a better job in the second half, and really the third quarter. It started to pop up again in the fourth quarter, but both teams had 17 turnovers. Lakers scored 26 points to the Bucks 21. Both teams relatively even in offensive rebounds. 12 from the Bucks, 11 from the Lakers. Lakers turned those into 18 points. The Bucks turned them into 7. And then free throws is the biggest one right now, and it has been consistently so far this season. 13, 14 games in now. The Lakers got to the free throw line 33 times. The Bucks got there 24, and the Lakers were plus 14 in points scored at the free throw line. So plus 14 there, plus 11 on your second chance points, plus 5 in points scored off of turnovers. Lakers were plus 30 in those categories in a game they win by 24 points tonight. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited talk and text line. Disappointing loss tonight for the Bucks. There's no way around it, especially what you saw offensively in the first half. We'll take your thoughts, take a look ahead to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and some more of those free throw numbers coming up next on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
You probably don't have to replace those windows. If the frames are intact and it's just the glass that's cracked, or it's foggy, replacing thermal window panes with the help of Less's Glass will save you the cost of total window replacement. When you want to know how much we can save you, all you have to do is measure the height and width of just the glass portion of the window panes. Then send us an email to info@lessglassservice.com and we'll get you an estimate right away. Just be sure to specify if you'd like us to come out and replace your window pane on site, or if you'd like to do it in the most cost-effective way possible by bringing the windows into our shop. Either way, you're saving a lot of money versus a total window replacement that you probably don't need. This is Stacy Sinks with Less's Glass Service. If it's a new glass shower door, fogged or broken insulated glass replacement, or affordable glass and mirror home decor that you've been looking for, you just can't pass on Less's Glass. Less's Glass Service, serving all of southeastern Wisconsin. Find us at lessglassservice.com.
So how is that possible? 1.9% real estate commission? There must be something you're not telling me.
I hear that a lot. The truth is, everybody could do it, but they choose not to because folks keep paying more than they have to. I guess they just haven't heard yet that Century 21 Benefit Realty can make that 1.9% real estate commission promise on the sale of your home and stick to it. So I'd like to think that's going to make your decision easy. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and that goes double for your home listing, because that's how you're going to get the most value. By having a customized marketing plan specific to your property with professional photos, global marketing, and the built-in experience that Century 21 Benefit Realty has brought to the table since 2004. And being joined with Century 21 just makes all of the above stand out that much more. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
WTMJ's Julia Fellow for Appliance Gallery. The holidays are coming. It's the right time for kitchen upgrades. Head to Appliance Gallery's incredible showroom right on Wisconsin Avenue. Explore luxury brands like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Cove, GE Cafe, and more. This family-owned business offers in-house installers who will work with you, your designer, or contractor to make sure everything is perfectly placed for the holidays. Head to appliancegallerywy.com or stop in today.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
24-point home loss tonight for the Bucks, who fall at the hands of the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers. 41 points tonight from Luka, and the Lakers take it to the Bucks 119-95. A game they led by as many as 31. That was their halftime lead. And, you know, again, I think you're going to look at the first 24 minutes of this game, the cold shooting by the Bucks, but also missed opportunities in the first half and second half of this game. I mean, this game to me was all about not only those statistical categories we mentioned, where the Lakers finished plus 30 in a game you lose by 24, but, you know, the big moments in this game, they belong to the Lakers. And last night we talked about Ryan Rollins kind of seizing the moment and answering the call each time the Bucks needed it when Charlotte, and not just that game last night, anytime the opponent would come up big, Ryan Rollins has consistently been the guy to answer the bell for the Bucks and match with an equally big shot on the other end. It was no one tonight. You know, you had opportunities. You think back, the one that'll stand out the most is in the first half, you're down 8. And this was after the Lakers had started to push that lead. We mentioned it on the air a couple of times, too. Like, you feel incredibly fortunate right now to have the margin sit where it is. I think it was mostly 14, 15 through large portions of that first half. You felt great if you were the Bucks with your shooting percentages, with the fact that, you know, after the midpoint of the first quarter, it didn't seem to be difficult at all for the Lakers to find anything offensively. And yet this margin was still 12 or 14 points. You were right there in it and felt like, okay, if you can keep it here, you just need that pause sometimes. In games like this, honestly, halftime is the most important part. You know, the opposing team, the team that's running up the score, oftentimes feel like, well, let's just play through halftime and let's keep this rolling because everything's working for us and nothing's working for them. If you're the bug and not the windshield, at which the Bucks were tonight, then you feel like let's just get this 15-minute break. We'll come out at halftime. We'll come out in the second half and we'll do things differently. And we just need this mental break here. And it felt like that's what we were seeing early in the third quarter. But prior to halftime, you got it down to 8. And I believe it was A.J. Green that had an open look. And it just didn't drop. And you hit that, it's a 5-point game. For as poorly as you played throughout the first half, it's a 2-possession game all of a sudden. But you didn't hit it. And the Lakers immediately scored on the other end. Second half. Similar situation, similar stories. You had a 15-0 run early in the half there. You get it to 16. You had a couple instances where a three-pointer, an open look, you can knock it down to 13. You got it to 13. You can knock it down to 10. And each and every time, it felt like you were starting to continue that climb and almost seeing the top of the hill. You just couldn't get there. You lost your footing. You missed one of those types of shots, and the Lakers just came down and scored on the other end. And more often than not, it was Luka Doncic. This was a tough night all around, especially on the defensive side. And you can't help but wonder how much of this was the fatigue factor, as Doc Rivers talked about after the game, and really what you've asked of Kyle Kuzma defensively the last few games here. How much of it was that? And fatigue from those matchups, fatigue from playing an overtime game, an up-tempo game in overtime last night. How much of it, too, was just, it wasn't Kyle Kuzma's night. The Lakers were daring him to shoot, and this is the one thing we've continued to mention. You heard Doc Rivers say the opposite last night, that we feel like these lineups will work with Kuzma and Giannis and Miles Turner because Miles is going to play out there on the perimeter and pull the bigs away from the basket and get them in an uncomfortable spot to where they want to be. Giannis is obviously going to draw attention, but Kuz is our cutter, and Kuz is going to attack and slash to the basket. When he does that, it's either going to free up an open look, which is going to be a dunk or a layup for Kuz. It's going to force some help on the perimeter to kind of sag in a little bit and give some paint protection, which is going to lead to an open shot for a guy like an A.J. Green or Ryan Rollins or Gary Trent, whoever's on the floor with them. Or it's just going to be enough movement that opens things up for Giannis. Like, we feel that's why this will work. It didn't work tonight. And, I only saw the game in real time. There's been no rewatching or film study here, but it didn't seem like we were seeing quite as much of that. And when it did happen, it ultimately ended with Kyle Kuzma just sitting in the corner. And the Lakers are going to pull themselves in and just say, fine, take the shot. And Kuzma went, 0 of 5 tonight on his threes. It was tough. And I think you could see that start to mount and build. And then defensively, you got to take on Luka Doncic. And the fouls started to pick up as well. 5 of them tonight for Kyle Kuzma. So it was a rough night all around. Ryan Rollins, I thought, ran into some similar type of issues, not quite as extreme with Austin Reeves. And, I don't know how much of it was frustration, but you could see on a couple of those with Rollins specifically. I don't know what you could have done any better in terms of your defense on Austin Reeves, and he just hits an incredibly difficult shot. And that's what it ultimately comes down to, is more often than not in this league, elite offense is going to beat really good defense. And that's why you want those types of guys, those guys that can create and make shots on your roster. The Lakers certainly have one in Luka Doncic. And what we've seen for large stretches of this season so far is it looks like they got another one of those in Austin Reeves. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Not a whole lot of positives to take away from this one tonight, so it's one that you just put behind you. I'm sure there's going to be film work and things to clean up. But the message from Doc Rivers was not so much a schedule loss. This was a fatigue one. There's things we're going to work on, but it's on to Cleveland. So that is a big one now on Monday night. And this trend that we've seen from the Bucks really since the month of November. We touched briefly on the November numbers on last night's show. They have not been great. And this trend is not disturbing, but it's also not great. And it's the mark of a team you don't want to be. So we'll dig into that conversation coming up next on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Hey, it's WTMJ's Kristen Bry, and if you're in the market for a new dentist, you should check out my dentist, Dr. James Michaels at Economowoc Dental Care. Dr. Michaels is committed to providing you with the highest level of care possible. I can assure you that he will prioritize your needs, no matter how sensitive, just like he did with mine. And also, he will be honest with you about what work you need now and what can wait. So whether you need a simple cleaning and exam, a teeth whitening, a more complex dental procedure, Economawalk Dental Care is always there to make you feel as comfortable as possible and give you and your family an amazing smile. And dental care doesn't have to break the bank. Dr. Michael's fantastic staff can set you up with a no-interest payment plan. Listen, we all have to go to the dentist, so don't put it off any longer. Call and make an appointment today with my dentist, Dr. James Michaels at Economawalk Dental Care. You can find him at drmichaelsdentalcare.com or give him a call at 262-567-7224.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been Milwaukee's one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
So this trend I mentioned for the Bucks, they lose tonight to the Lakers, 119-95. First time this season they have failed to score 100 points in a game, and it's still very early. We talked about this last night on the show. It's too early to do the schedule or standings talk, I should say. We're not even a quarter of the way through the season yet. But what you have noticed is, man, there's a lot of teams that are kind of bunched up there in the Eastern Conference, and I don't know that any of us have the Detroit Pistons as the team to potentially run away with the 1 seed right now at 11-2. You're going to see the Pistons here in Milwaukee next weekend, by the way. But you look at the Knicks have 8 wins. The Raptors have 8 wins. The Hawks have 8 wins. You have 8 wins. Sixers have 7 wins. Cavs have 9 wins, who you see on Monday. 7 wins from the Magic, 7 wins from the Heats. Like right now in the Eastern Conference, 2 through 11, the team outside the play-in tournament mix, which is the Boston Celtics, 2 through 11 is separated by 2.5 games and 2 wins. That's it. So you've seen a massive lump of teams that in terms of their record have basically been just slightly better than average. And then 3 teams that have been horrendous in the Nets, Wizards, and Pacers, and 1 team that's been excellent in the Detroit Pistons. If you're the Bucks, you've had the Wizards once, the Pacers once. You're saying, how do we get more games with the Nets and the Wizards right now just to kind of cleanse the palate, get some wins, and break this little trend that I mentioned they're in the midst of right now? That trend is this: mediocrity. Since the calendar flipped here to November, the Bucks have not pieced together consecutive wins or consecutive losses. And it started with that Warriors game for the every other trend. But your first game in November, November 1st, here at home against the Kings, that was a game you should have won. And you end up losing by 2 points. You bounce back and you beat the Pacers on the road 2 days later, but that was an ugly game. And again, we just mentioned the Pacers have won 1 game out of 12 so far this season. They had a massive amount of injuries. They continue to play through those injuries. They have not been good. And I know there was emotions for the Miles Turner return to Indiana on both ends. For Miles Turner walking into that building as a visitor for the first time in his career, for the Pacers fans and the Pacers players that played with him as well, especially given the way some of the things Miles has said so far since his departure, how they've been perceived. Yeah, there was some emotion behind that game, but that is still a team that you feel like this should not go down to the wire. This should not require a Giannis game winner. But it did. And you win that game by 2 points on that buzzer beater by Giannis. Then you immediately fly to Toronto. Basically the same situation we talked about here with the Lakers tonight, where you arrive in Toronto at about 3 in the morning, night 2 of a back-to-back, and you're just run off the floor. And Doc opened up his post-game press conference that night saying, we just didn't have it tonight. You lose that game by 28 points. Then you have a cup game against the Bulls. You win it by 16 points. Then you have Houston here 2 days later in, again, a game that was there for the taking, that you controlled through the first half. You played well enough for most of the second half. It was ultimately a really bad close to the fourth quarter that doomed the Bucks, and that's another one of those games right now. This one and that loss to the Rockets, the loss to the Rockets and the loss to the Kings. You look at those two right now and say, we really should have had those. And if you win those, you're 10-4. But you lose the game to Houston, you go to Dallas. Same story as what we said with Indiana. You win, it goes down to the wire. You win by 2 points against a really bad Mavericks team who, by the way, the very next morning, fire Nico Harrison. Then you have another disappointment, that loss in Charlotte. I know there was no Giannis. I know we said, hey, Hornets are not the team that you perceive them to be. They're better, but it's still a 4-win Charlotte Hornets team. You bounce back and beat the Hornets in the Cup, right? In Cup play, group play game. And then tonight you lose to the Lakers. So that is, through the month of November, every single game. Win-loss, 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 win-loss. And your wins, you know, you ultimately won that game by 13 last night. That didn't feel like a 13-point win. You beat the Bulls by 16. That was a pretty heavily contested game for large portions. Your wins have been barely, narrowly eking it out, it feels like. Really hard-fought victories, which, to be clear, I think is good for the long term. But the optics of what you're seeing right now, win-loss, 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 in your wins, it feels like you're barely getting them. You need to start to break this trend. The numbers are even less pretty, too, when you look at these team numbers and team ratings for the Bucks here in the month of November. They were very good. We talked about this last night. They were incredibly good. And I know it's a very, very small sample size of data, but they were very, very good in the month of October with that 4-1 start. Their defense was much improved. They had a top 10 offense. They had a defense that was hovering around it. They were one of the 10 best teams in the league with their net rating. And in the month of November, it has been an incredibly different story. The defense has really been the big issue for this team. They have consistently been a top 10 offense so far this season, except for tonight when you fail to get to 100 points. But your offense hasn't really been the problem. With this game tonight now, putting up 95 points, you drop all the way down to the middle of the pack. You are the number 15 offense in the league in the month of November. And your defense in these November games where you are now 4-5. Right now the Bucks have the 23rd rated defense in the league. So 15th, middle of the pack on offense, bottom 10, nearly a bottom 5 team defensively, which puts the Bucks at 18 in net rating. It matches the eye test here. You got to find some consistency to close out this month, and it's not going to get any easier with this schedule. Again, I mentioned it on last night's show prior to this game. The Lakers, you add in their record, it's gone up now with other teams playing today that are on your schedule winning. But last night, looking at this stretch of 7 games, starting tonight with the Lakers, Monday night in Cleveland with the Cavs, Thursday night here at home against the Sixers, then 1 week from tonight, again at home against the Pistons, and then the week of Thanksgiving to round things out with the Blazers and road games against Miami and New York. That was a .636 win percentage for those teams. So it's a pretty difficult stretch. I believe this is arguably the toughest stretch the Bucks are going to have so far, or not so far, through this season, with the way the games are spread out and the opponents that you have and how they're currently playing right now. Said last night, your final 8 games, that's 7. Your final game in the month of November is, again, night 2 of a back-to-back where the Brooklyn Nets come to Milwaukee the weekend of Thanksgiving on that Saturday night. Go 5-3. We'll settle for 5-3 in your final 8 games. If you can do that, then we're talking about a 13-8 start to the season, which, look, not great, but I think that's good enough, all things considered, because by the time we get through November, then I really think, reading between the lines, we're starting to get to that point where maybe Kevin Porter Jr. is ready to return then. It's at least getting very close. December 1st, you're on the road in D.C. against the Wizards. And then December 3rd, you return to Milwaukee for a pair of home games against the Pistons and the 76ers that you can't help but wonder if his return may line up with that back-to-back home games and 3 games at home out of a 4-game stretch. There is a back-to-back in there. It's in Detroit, so your schedule is Detroit at home, Philly at home, Detroit on the road. But you're getting closer then at that point to the return of KPJ, and that's another thing that this team just misses right now. We talk about the turnovers. It hasn't been an issue for the Bucks this season. Believe me, I know if you just watch these last 2 games, you would think, well, they're one of the worst teams at protecting the basketball, and they're going to turn the ball over, and that's going to help out the opposing team's offenses. They've been one of the 10 best teams in the league at protecting the basketball. Cole Anthony and Ryan Rollins especially, they were both coming into play tonight in the top 10 in the league for lowest turnover rate on drives. They've done a good job of protecting the ball. But these 2 games, they have not. It has been horrendous. And you have to keep in mind you're still playing these games without the guy. As much of a step forward as Ryan Rollins has taken, as much as, frankly, a revelation that Ryan Rollins has been and what you've seen is capable from him, you have to keep in mind you are still playing these games without the guy that coming into the season was your starting point guard. And there's been games where Cole Anthony has not had it, and tonight was one of those. Did not score, still found a way to move the ball, get 7 assists, but the shot wasn't there. And we've seen a lot of these hot or cold performances from Cole Anthony. That's where you miss Kevin Porter Jr. Because right now your only options are, Giannis is your point guard and running things, but the literal point guards are Ryan Rollins and Cole Anthony. And if one of those guys gets into foul trouble, if one of those guys doesn't have it, there's really nowhere else to go. And that's where you miss Kevin Porter Jr., his ability to facilitate. You look at the bench production and the numbers for those all-bench units, which we've seen more of now these past couple of games, largely because of the way that Doc has changed the starting lineup. But the numbers haven't been good, especially offensively for the all-bench units. And again, part of that is the absence of Kevin Porter Jr. and what that means for the rest of your second unit. The guys get bumped up a line, and it changes how you can stagger things. The type of facilitators and ball handlers and shot creators and makers that you're going to have on the floor at any given moment, you could, if you're healthy, stagger Kevin Porter Jr. to be the guy that's doing that. And defensively, too. The Bucks have played, I believe, the second most possessions so far this season defensively in zone. And Doc has said, numerous times, Kevin Porter Jr. is part of their best zone lineups, that he loves KPJ and Gary Trent Jr. together on the floor because of their acumen for the zone, and it just fits those two guys well. Both sides of the floor, you miss him. You know, no matter how good Ryan Rollins has been, no matter how good Giannis has been, you miss that secondary guy in Kevin Porter Jr. So he cannot return soon enough, but you're not going to have him for at least a couple more weeks. And you got to figure out a way not to right the ship. It hasn't gone that bad, but you got to find some more consistency. And let's start to piece together a win streak here, and not this every other business here. Win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. 855-616-1620. The Siding Unlimited talk and text line to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. I mentioned there's one other number there for the free throws. I do want to get to that in a second because, look, we've seen some improvement on the glass for the Bucks here tonight. I think you were okay. We're starting to see some offensive rebounds, at least pile up defensively, though. You have to continue to push that number north with your defensive rebounding. But the free throws, to me, is the number that, all around is even more troubling than what we've seen on the glass. We'll get into that discussion coming up next.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
Hey, y'all. It's the Rocket Roger Clemens here. Spent a lot of time pitching heat. Years later, the pain in my joints remind me of those days, but I'm not looking to sit still, and I definitely am not interested in going under the knife. That's why I chose QC Kinetics.
Not just for elite retired athletes. QC Kinetics gives everyday folks joint pain relief using regenerative treatments that work with your body to help repair joint damage.
No surgery, no long recovery, whether it's your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. My friends at QC Kinetics will help you get moving again so you can get back to doing the things you love.
QC Kinetics medical professionals will look at your x-rays or MRI to determine if you're a good candidate.
I trusted QC Kinetics to help me feel like myself again, and I'm proud to recommend them to you.
Call QC Kinetics today and schedule your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-667-5559. That's 414-667-5559. 414-667-5559.
Why work with several sales reps that don't work for you, drinking their company's Kool-Aid, only able to sell what their company has to offer? You'll get biased opinions and probably not a very good deal. When it comes to local advertising, a lot of business owners do this. It takes a lot of time and will cost you more for your advertising than it has to. Let us work for you. We know all the rates for all media. This keeps everybody honest, and when you place the volume of advertising we do, it means you get great deals. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results. We'll make your ads potent, memorable, and effective. Whether it's radio, TV, billboards, or digital, our understanding of the market and long-standing relationships are unmatched. Anderson Smith represents a substantial amount of advertising billing, which will benefit you in getting much more for your ad dollar. Our compensation model is designed to make it affordable for businesses like yours to use us. And we hold on to our clients because what we do works, and they trust us. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results.
It's the biggest savings event of the year. Menards, 11% rebate ends Thanksgiving Day. Save big money on everything you need for any project. We've got something for everyone. Homeowners, contractors, DIYers, the kids, and even grandma. Hurry, Menards 11% rebate ends Thanksgiving Day.
Save big money at Menards.
11% mail-in rebate is a merchandise credit check. Good on future in-store purchases. See Menards.com for details.
This is Bucks Talk.
Tough one tonight for the Bucks. 119-95 final score. Luka Doncic takes over, pouring in 41 points tonight. Austin Reeves was great as well with 25. Luka and Austin Reeves have been terrific as a duo so far this season. It does beg the question of what is this going to look like when LeBron James returns, which it sounds like there's a very strong chance it is in the Lakers' next game. He was days away, was the latest update we got coming into this game tonight. But it's imminent, the return of LeBron James. And what does that mean for, not only Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves? Doc talked about it before the game tonight. When you have that type of firepower, the third guy is important. And to be clear, we've seen more and more teams move away from this. I don't know how much of it has to do with conceptually how the game is played versus the CBA itself and how difficult it is to build and maintain super teams now because of things like the second apron and what that does in terms of limiting your ability to round out a roster and build a competitive team with depth, right? But Doc's point was, when you have those quote-unquote super teams and that type of talent throughout your team, it's the third guy that in most cases is the most important guy because he needs to basically play within the flow of the game and be willing to take a backseat on some nights or be ready to step up and be one of those guys that's adding the scoring punch on the night where you need it if, your number one star isn't playing or just doesn't have it. So his point was everything we've seen from Austin Reeves, I think he can fill out that role quite nicely. But it remains to be seen. This could be the Lakers are really loaded, top-heavy team here. If Luka's playing like this, who now has qualified, playing 75% of his team's games and is the leading scorer in the league, Austin Reeves and what he's done, and if LeBron James is the guy that we're used to seeing, this is an interesting team that does have some flaws, specifically in the front court, but it's an interesting team where you're just glad they're in the Western Conference. One of the things that stood out tonight, though, free throw shooting. And this was one of the questions Doc was asked about prior to the game. And you could tell, too, it's a question he's, I suppose you would say, tired of getting. He was asked a couple games ago, too, about the free throw shooting by his team. And, hey, you guys aren't hitting enough free throws. Your guys aren't hitting them at a high rate, which right now the Bucks are still number 30 in the league in free throw shooting. But Doc's point, too, well, what do you want me to tell the guys? Make more free throws? And asked coming into this game tonight, too, about you're going up against the Lakers, a team that I believe is number 2 in the league in free throw rate in terms of how frequently they're getting to the line for every 100 possessions. Austin Reeves is a big part of that. Obviously, Luka is the biggest part of it. But, Doc's point, again, of this is what they do. It's just like when you think about back in the day playing against the Houston Rockets with James Harden and getting to the free throw line. Joel Embiid, right? We can game plan. We can talk about don't fall for the head fake. Keep your hands down. Don't let them interlock your arms and get those grifting fouls. But a certain amount of those are going to happen throughout the course of a game. If it's happened year after year after year and it's happened through the first 8-9 games that Luka's played in, unless you have luck on your side, you're not just going to magically stop them. The point that he has made is even with guys individually, when we talk about the whistle that A.J. Green is getting, he was asked the other night, is this a matter of A.J. just doesn't have that baked-in respect level from the officiating crew? And Doc has said, no, we're committing fouls, and we got to clean that up. I don't know what the answer is for Doc Rivers with free throws here. Fouls are being committed. I think that is certainly inescapable. The frustrating parts, I know, for Doc, for the coaching staff, and for other players is, look, if we're going to call this, I'm not disputing it was a foul. Can we call the foul that's on the other end, on the guy on our team, who all of a sudden, it's suddenly becoming like clockwork here for the Bucks. Their main guy just isn't getting the whistle, or one of their main guys just isn't getting the whistle. We saw it at the tail end here, 3 years ago with Chris Middleton with the and one calls that just were no longer there. Same with Damian Lillard for the last 2 years, and now this season, despite the contact, Giannis is just not getting that whistle. The important part, though, is when you do get that whistle, you got to take advantage of those free throws. And I'm going to continue to say it over and over and over. The one thing to monitor with this team is the names that are gone and what they did in terms of their free throw shooting. It wasn't a high volume, at least in the case of all but one of those guys. It was not a high volume. But Brook Lopez was a really good free throw shooter. an excellent free throw shooter for a big man. Chris Middleton was an excellent free throw shooter. Damian Lillard was an elite, one of the best in the history of the league. All those guys are gone. Kyle Kuzma has been your second best free throw shooter this season. It was just under 80% coming into the game tonight in terms of the volume of getting to the line. Just over 2 trips per game. Giannis is getting there the most, but Kyle Kuzma, your most efficient guy. Bucks are shooting 69% at the free throw line this season. Their opponents are shooting just under 80%. So they are making a higher volume of them, and they are more efficient. That is not sustainable for success. That's where those other categories come into play. If that's what you're going to be up against, you had better shoot the ball extremely well. You had better protect the ball, and you had better limit opponents' possessions, close out the possession with rebounding. And we just haven't seen all of those consistently come together for this team so far this season. We'll wrap things up, take a look ahead at another big one Monday night in Cleveland against the Cavs. One other note to clean up vis-a-vis the NBA Cup. I think we talked about it last night, so a correction to make there. We'll get into that as we wrap up the show next on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Froedtert.com to find out how.
Looking for a fun and meaningful way to kick off the holiday season? Join us for the 20th anniversary of Capco's Kids to Kids Toy Drive, Saturday, December 13th at the Kasmeric Center in Grafton. This free, family-friendly event is a celebration of giving. Bring a new, unwrapped toy and help brighten the holidays for children and families in need across Wisconsin. To learn more or get involved, visit kidstokidstoydrive.com and join us on December 13th in Grafton.
You know that display in the bookstore of employees' top picks?
With the little cards and handwritten reviews.
Well, if Penny Mustard had a top pick section, it would feature the Dane bedroom.
My card would say, smoking hot. You'll feel more sophisticated with the Dane bedroom in your home.
My review would read, the perfect balance of iron and wood makes the Dane bedroom stand out from the rest.
And mine would say, I find this compelling, beautifully written tale to be both haunting and rollicking, gritty yet sensitive, crackling with pitch-perfect phrasing. A triumph. I only wish it had more pictures.
Anyway, the Dane bedroom's clean, crisp lines match any decor.
With forever tight bed brackets and drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on.
Wow, I can't wait to see the film adaptation.
The Dane bedroom with king floating panel bed, 8-drawer dresser, mirror, and 3-drawer nightstand, starting at $82.48 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
My overall experience with Gruber Law Offices has been phenomenal.
The treatment was excellent.
They will be supportive of you. They will listen to you.
It was a great experience knowing that I had people to help me.
I know I could count on them to do what I needed to get done.
Experience with Gruber was great.
They gave me my life back.
It was amazing.
He gets results.
We know how to win. If you've been injured, call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Gruber Law Offices had my best interests at heart.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
All right, 119-95, the final tonight. An ugly first half for the Bucks ultimately dooms them. That and Luka Doncic with 41 points. As we mentioned, that is his third consecutive game against the Bucks, putting up 40 or more points. Austin Reeves, a big game as well with 25. And DeAndre Ayton had a big game in terms of his point production with 20 points. He's been interesting, especially in the matchups against Giannis. But he played his role nicely tonight for the Lakers. So a dominant win, and a dominant first half, I should say. You saw some fight from the Bucks in the second half, but it was ultimately just too big of a hole to dig out of, especially when Luka Doncic was playing the way that he was tonight. I mentioned there's one thing to clean up from last night's show. We talked about the 13-point win for the Bucks. It was a 0-point win for all intents and purposes in the NBA Cup because they made the adjustment that overtime scores are not reflected. Your win obviously counts, but whatever you win by in overtime, that does not add to your points differential. So instead of the Bucks being plus 29 and really firmly in command in their group at 2-0, it makes it very, very interesting now as they are plus 16, still 2-0, but you have the Miami Heat losing relatively close to the New York Knicks. So Miami is 1-1, so is New York, so is Chicago. Chicago's -6. Miami is plus 10, and the Knicks are -2. So I said, with the point differential what it is, if you split your two games, you got a decent chance to get out of the group here and advance to the knockout rounds once again. It's a little more complicated now. So if you lose to Miami, you basically need, and if you lose to New York for that matter, if you're going to go 1-1 in your final two games, you need another team to finish 3-1. So it then comes down to a three-way tie, because if you lose to Miami and beat New York, and you and Miami are the 2-3-1 teams, Miami wins the group stage because of the head-to-head tiebreaker. So, look, the easiest way to do it, win both of your games, and for the third consecutive year, the Bucks will be advancing to the knockout rounds as the winner of their group. But it's going to go all the way down to that final game, you get the sense, in New York against the Knicks the day after Thanksgiving. Monday night is the next chance for the Bucks to redeem themselves. They head to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. That's a 6 o'clock tip-off Monday evening. 5:30 is when we're going to hit the airwaves with Bucks shots. And as always, be sure to stick around after the game for Bucks Talk. We'll talk with you once again Monday nights from Cleveland.
They were talking about doing a few things to spruce up their home, and I knew where they were coming from. Sometimes you don't even realize it, but then it hits you. You've had the same look in your home forever. And that's why